Welcome guys, welcome to Innsbruck, welcome to Tirol. This is the Austrian Climbing Summer Series calling, and we have two questions that should be answered the upcoming hours. Who will be the overall champion of the Austrian Climbing Summer Series and who will become the Austrian champion? But before we kick it off, let's have a quick glance to one of the most spectacular climbing lines here in Tirol.
War die Nina Caprez dabei.
Nina Caprez was here today. When I come here with somebody who doesn't know Niedersee, these are the routes I like to show them. The route is called the Miracle and is definitely one of the best climbs I know.
Routen der Weekend.
Nina loved the route. She didn't expect to find a crack like this in Niedersee. The cool thing about the route is that it is obvious where you have to climb. There aren't many options on the face. When you stand in front of it, then this is the route you notice straight away. The route is not too hard, so I climb it almost every time I'm in Niedersee. There are not many cracks in Tirol, so it's a special route we have here. Climbing, everyone is looking for that route where you think, I want to go back again and again to try it. I want to spend lots of time and energy on it because the route is so cool.
The big difference between crack climbing and normal climbing is that in a crack you have to apply pressure to the sides. In climbing courses, I first show participants how it should be done. The idea is that one day they can apply what they have learned to a climb they have always wanted to do. That is the best feeling. Christian and Maren told me they want to get better at climbing cracks.
So,
now,
jetzt seid ihr dran.
it's your turn. You can do it easily. Maren is new to crack climbing and has made huge progress.
Der Weiße Riese war eine richtig spannende Route.
The Weiße Riese is a really cool route. I like the fact that it's so varied. That makes it interesting to climb. The first section's easy. Then comes the crack. Towards the end, it was pretty tough for me.
Gewaltig, Maren, hey.
Great, Maren. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You almost had it on that last attempt.
Das bedeutet auch für mich, dass ich ein neues Projekt habe.
For me, it means that I have a new project to work on. Next time I come back here, I hope I'll be able to complete the Weißerisa.
Good job. You climbed really well and with lots of courage.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed it. And now let's kick it off and throw it to our Austrian colleagues of the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation. And while climbing is starting, you will get the commentary in English of our colleague Charlie Bosco. Let's get it started right now.
Good morning and welcome back to Innsbruck. As you can see, beautiful day here in the Tirol. Wasn't necessarily what was forecast, but luckily it's what we ended up getting. And there is the boulder wall here in the Kletterzentrum. Regular viewers of international climbing competitions will no doubt be familiar with that. Hosted the 2017 Youth World Championships, the 2018 qualifiers for the Senior World Championship, and today it hosts the Austrian Championships women's semi-final on the boulders, and we'll talk more about the start list in just a second. There they are, as you can see, Matteo Puzzi, the only climber who got 4 tops in a savagely hard round in yesterday's qualifier, will be out last, and it'll be Moni Jenevine. Less than, I'm just looking at my watch, about 11 hours on, 13 hours, excuse me, maths never my strong point, 13 hours on from picking up a bronze medal in the speed climbing. Right here is back for the boulder semi-final. And there she is. Brutally hard qualifying round, as I mentioned earlier on. We've actually got 22 climbers qualified for today's semi-final, thanks to a large tie in that qualifying round in 20th place. But of the 22 women that have made it into the final, normally we just have 20, but 22, thanks to that tie in 20th place. Of those 22, only 11 managed to find a top in yesterday's qualifiers, so a very challenging round. It'll be interesting to see whether the route setters have toned things down slightly for the semi-final. And we start off on the slab over on the left-hand side of the wall here at the Kletterzentrum. You can see the black tape, by the way, surrounding the boulder, pretty much wrapped all the way around it, and that means you can't touch outside that black tape. So it's not purely aesthetic, it's not to show you where the angle change is. It is part of the regulations. None of the climbers can touch outside that black tape, and they'll actually have to be quite careful on the first move, just holding the starting hold to make sure that they don't go beyond the black tape. Unlike tops and zones, no judgment involved. If you touch outside it, you're called back down. There's no judgment involved. It's a yes or no, but Moni Jenevine seems to have made a clean start and can have another look at this series of moves out left to the dual texture holds. See, no doubt this is a boulder of 2 halves. You've got the slower moves out left. I don't think anyone will attempt them quickly, but I'm more than happy and half expecting to be proved wrong. But you've got the moves out left, and then a fairly awkward jump up to the top hold, which again, be interesting to see the different methods employed. We're going left to right today, so women's one over here, far left. Then immediately to the right, purple and black volumes that you can just see behind Moni Jenevine there is number 2, and then with yellow holds and a black top for number 3, and green over on the right is Boulder 4. Unlike in a normal year, and we all know 2020 has been far from that, we may well have the men's and women's semi-finals running concurrently, but for social distancing reasons, we're having them run completely separately. So the men will climb at 1 o'clock Innsbruck time in 3 hours for their semi-final, and then we'll have both finals for you this evening. So Moni Irvine had a few stabs at this one, as yet unsuccessfully. No score registered just yet. She has touched the zone, but remember, you've got to control it to be awarded it by the judges. Definitely got these lower moves sorted, but it's the quick release over to the zone that's proving problematic so far. Thinks about going slowly. You can see it is just off vertical, this wall, so you can lean in, go back and forth a little bit, even though there's nothing for the hands. You can see her figuring out the position. Commits again. It's just out of reach. Remember, if she could just get a fingertip to that zone and keep it there and be in control, she would be awarded the zone. She doesn't need to grab hold of it. She just needs to control it. As yet, no success. So 40 seconds to go. I believe this is attempt number 5. You can see it's incredibly close. And she goes again. She just can't. I think it's maybe a timing issue. Can't quite get the left foot to land at the precise moment she wants it to. And again, perilously close to that black tape at the start. Got 15 seconds to try and find a way. And same outcome. So no score for her on the first boulder, but as I say, it was only 13 hours ago she was picking up a medal, so regardless of what happens, it's been a good championship already for Moni Irvine. She heads back in, and as you can see, Stephanie Leitner has just made her way out, taking her mask off at the last possible second. Does seem that the coronavirus restrictions are being tightened somewhat right now in the Tirol, as they seem to be across much of the world. Climbers wearing their masks until they actually get onto the boulder. There's been much stricter enforcement of masks throughout the venue at all times, just judging for the first 2 days of competition. Unlike the summer series, which we had earlier on in the summer, hence the name, there are no German climbers, no Swiss climbers. This is a purely Austrian championship, but that still makes it a pretty strong field. And you can see Stephanie Leitner, I mentioned earlier on, only needs to creep across and touch that zone. She might have been well advised just to stay on that for a second longer and just say to the judges, there you go. That looks pretty controlled to me anyway. So trying a completely different method to Moni Irvine. Much more in control, but still having the problem that she rotates off. Stephanie Leitner, the second climber out. Remember, 22 women in today's semi-final. Big time 20th place. There was also a timed 15th place after a very tough set of boulders in the qualifiers. So again, choosing to go slowly out towards that zone, or is she thinking about a more dynamic approach? Looks like she's considering it. Again, controlling the zone, trying the foot swap, which I think might be quite a nice method because it means you can place your foot in control, but you can't keep it there. That volume below the zone doesn't look too bad here. The white bit, by the way, is high friction. The wooden looking bit is very low friction. It looks okay from here, but it's actually a really awkward shape. It's sloping down just enough that your foot just never quite feels secure. Minute and a half left. Already got that zone. Actually got it on her first attempt. 120 left to try and find a top. So neither climber that we've seen so far really had a good look at that top move. One minute to go now, you'll hear a beep. Or not, to signify that there's 1 minute to go. Normally we have an audible beep. I am quite a long way from the wall here, so perhaps there was one, I just didn't hear it. Either way, the clock is right there, so no excuses for the climbers to not know how long they've got left. So you can see now Stephanie Leitner again creeping out towards that zone. Able to tickle it, able to touch it. Not able to stay there again. Couple of attempts before was probably the one. 30 seconds to go. And I think with 10 seconds to go, the mask will go back on and she will head back into the isolation zone behind the wall. 5 minutes begins ticking down, but we do not appear to have Selina Schäuble. She should be out now. Remember, in the semi-final, the clock just keeps on ticking. 5 minutes starts again after the last climber's attempt. I'm not entirely sure where Selina Schäuble is. Apparently we've got a technical break. I'm not entirely sure what the technical break is here. We shall see. In the meantime, not too bad a view to look at. Nice to see a few spectators out as well, albeit wearing face coverings and socially distanced. Half the chairs blocked off there in the audience. But regardless, after the year we've had, lovely to have a bit of climbing to watch on TV, and not a bad spot for it. You can see the peaks of the Nordkette just appearing behind, sun coming out as forecast. We have got a bit of rain forecast later on. The weather's been somewhat unpredictable recently here in the Tirol, so we'll see what we get. And just to let you know, apparently there is a slight issue with the time clock, the timing system I should say. Somewhat of a tradition in climbing competitions. Stephanie Leitner, as you can see, leading the way at a very, very early stage. One zone for her on one boulder. And I'm just looking across at the stage, still no sign of Selina Schäuble, who was actually tied in the qualifiers with Stephanie Leitner and Selina Schäuble. You can see who's still to come. We actually get all the way down to Lena Bruys in 12th, the 12th climber out, before we find someone who managed to find a top in yesterday's qualifiers. It was a brutal round. One climber with one top, that was Lena, and then we had 6 climbers with 2 tops, 3 climbers with 3 tops, and then Mattea Puzzi, no doubt the standout climber of the day with 4 tops. Look at that wonderful church. It's not too far from here in the venue. Oh, here we go as the camera pans out. Perhaps we could ask for some divine help with this clock. By the way, that's where the men will be climbing at 1 o'clock, assuming, of course, that we solve this technical issue and we are not put behind schedule. I can hear some beeping. I did mention you'd expect to hear a beep when there was 1 minute to go on the clock, and I didn't hear one. Now I'm hearing beeps, so yeah, clearly an issue of some description with the timing system. But yeah, the men will climb later on the right-hand side. Not all their boulders up yet. And they'll climb on the right-hand section of wall, start at 1 o'clock, and then women's final starts 6 p.m. this evening, and the men follow on after that. As I said at the top of the broadcast, we are live from the Sillside Centre here in Innsbruck, so named because it's next to the River Sill. Top tip when navigating around Innsbruck, there are 2 rivers. I really wish I'd known that the first time I came here, and I couldn't figure out why I kept finding more rivers when I thought there was only 1. There are 2, we're next to the River Sill, and of course the town itself named after the River Inn. You can see a very sociable scene down the front of the wall. Just looking if we can spot any famous faces. I can see Hannah Schubert there leaning against the barriers. Katja Sauerwein was just visible for a second on screen. Here we pick it up down the front. Reini Scherer just stood up, who of course runs the Kletterzentrum, coached Anna Sturr for many years. An absolute legend of the Austrian and particularly the Tyrolean climbing scene. Looks like he's off to join the team investigating this clock issue. Oh, we've got a clock on screen. I have to hope that that means that we have a functioning clock for the athletes. Clock issues not unheard of at climbing competitions, but relatively rare we have one in the semi-final stage because there's no sort of stopping and restarting. It just repeatedly counts down from 5 minutes.
Der Timer funktioniert wieder und in 50 Sekunden starten dann hier Mona Jenwein und Selina Scheuer.
By the way, on the right there, you might recognise from the Youth World Championships and the Senior World Championships a few years ago, humongous outdoor lead wall. Had a qualifying round for the main World Championships, and then we had all the rounds for the lead in the Youth World Championship on that 3 years ago. And there you can see the weather improving by the minute as we see the scores. Not that they're worth a huge amount at this early stage, of course, but Stephanie Leitler, the only of the 2 climbers to have made any dent on Boulder 1, and this looks fairly promising. The clock seems to be counting down. We seem to have Mona Jenwein ready to come out for Boulder 2, and Selina Scheuer ready to come out for number 1.
Guten Morgen, Selina Scheuer. Sie ist zurück nach dem Speedbewerb von gestern.
So we seem to be back in action. 5 minutes begins ticking down. Selina Scheuer, first thing she does, give the halter brush. Not wasting any time, Money in by getting stuck into Boulder 2. Our first look at it. You can see it's condensed it into a pretty small space. From here on out, by the way, I should say, after you've done Boulder 1, things are looking pretty powerful. True for number 2, 3 and 4. Selina Scheuber moving wide, just creeping up left. We've seen a couple of methods at this move. It was Stephanie Leitner's slow method, which seemed to be the most effective. Selina Scheuber looked like she was just ever so slightly caught in two minds about which method to use. Moni Inovan just struggling with that first powerful move on number 2. Doesn't let off much after that, albeit there's a slight change in style. Those two black holes that you can see, by the way, attached to those purple volumes, tiny little crimps, and then from there on out, it's kind of big sloping holes, big sloping volumes from there onto the top. Moni Invine looks like if she could just control the swing, she might be away. Didn't look like she was repositioning on those holes, looked pretty solid straight away. So Selina Scheuber tries again. Like the other climbers we've seen so far on this boulder, seems to have that early section pretty sorted out. It's here where things get really tricky, leaning out left to that zone. If you are just tuning in, welcome to Innsbruck. Beautiful day here in the Tirol. Charlie Bosco here at the Kletterzentrum, the Silside Park in Innsbruck. This is the women's semi-final in the Austrian National Championships. We had the summer series earlier on, but this time it's Austrians only, so no Petra Klingler taking part today, no Sasha Lehmann over on the men's side. Austrians only, which still gives you a pretty strong field. Amazing when you get the start list and we're watching these broadcasts, how many of the names are familiar, even if you only watch international competitions, such as the strength of the Austrian climbing team. Selina Scheuber just making sure she makes a legal start. Remember, you've got to put 2 limbs where the two bits of pink tape are and 2 limbs where the other 2 bits are. You can't just say to the judges, look, I've already done this bit, just let me skip to the zone. You've got to do the whole boulder, including a legal start every single time. And you can see she did latch the zone that time. Once again, she actually got it, she got the zone on her second go, gets it again there. But like the climbers we've seen before her, struggling from there. This time we did get a beep at 1 minute, by the way. Pleased I'm not going mad. This looks a bit more promising from Selina. You can see that left foot, I mentioned it earlier, it just feels so insecure, but once you've got the 2 hands, it looks so much more solid. This is looking really hopeful for a first top here. Selina Scheuber has read that one to perfection. First top of a boulder here in the semi-final. Comes 20 minutes or so in. So Boulder 1, having looked incredibly tricky initially, now sees the top with our 3rd climber. Wouldn't be at all surprised if the route setters did turn down the difficulty slightly after a brutal qualifying round. And we welcome Lisa Wurm. Takes her mask off, puts it into the plastic bag. This is all, of course, coronavirus related, depending on who you ask. Does seem to be a resurgence of cases. So we have got reasonably strict conditions here. Feels, I have to say, even stricter than the summer series back in July and August. kudos to Austria Climbing for getting an event on in such difficult circumstances. It's really not easy to manage an event during a global pandemic, to put it mildly. They've done an excellent job. So Lisa Wurm now, fourth climber out. Another climber who was not able to secure a top in yesterday's qualifiers. It'll be the 12th climber out before we have a climber who found a top in the qualifiers. But we've seen Boulder 1 done now. Stephanie Leitner is back out. She's on number 2 right now, just brushing. I'm just watching her across the venue. Very specific brushing, knows exactly what she wants on number 2. And as you can see, they have squeezed number 2 into a pretty small space, pretty much straight up. Not too much complexity to the boulder. Lisa Wurm now trying again. Just over 2 minutes of her time elapsed, 5 minutes per boulder, of course, and you get 5 minutes on and 5 minutes rest, and then you come out for another 5 minutes on the next boulder. Stephanie Leitner, like Moni Invine, just struggling to control the swing. It looks like she's landing pretty accurately on the crimps. As we see Lisa Wurm getting in a pretty good position. Selina Schäuble, once she got here, looked very, very solid. And so does Lisa Wurm. Good start for her. And crucially for the semi-final, when you've only got 5 minutes off, she's got an extra 2 minutes to relax. Don't think it will have taken too much out of her physically. But still, nice to have the extra rest. So we can focus on Stephanie Leitner. Trying to stretch out to use that tiny foothold over on the right so that she doesn't have to do the swing. See Stephanie Leitner just studying the boulder, wondering if there's anything she's missed. Going to try and do it slightly differently this time. Looked a pretty awkward kind of dry fire on the left hand. So 35 seconds ago, having another look at this. And the feet slipped just as she went up with the left hand. Can have one more go. I think realistically, time-wise, might struggle to get past the zone, even if she can do this first move. Let's have a look. I just can't get that right hand to stay there. So, has to reapply her mask, head back into isolation. And we will welcome Selina Schäuble out onto number 2, and it'll be our first chance to see Olivia Merkens in action. Moni Invine also back out, first climber to have a look at number 3, big yellow holds. Pretty burly start by the looks of things. And then kind of creeping up the upper wall. Selina Schäuble, as we've seen with most climbers actually on number 2, first thing she does is give it a very detailed brush.
die damalige österreichische Meisterschaft in Weidhofen 2017.
The Americans here now. See her eyeing up that zone. Most climbers found this traverse out left, all things being relative, pretty easy. But it seems to be getting across to the zone and then getting established on it, getting your feet established underneath it. That seems to be the real crux of the boulder. This is looking promising from Selina Schäuble. She topped number 1. She's going well on number 2. I said it got pretty burly from here on out. You can see that had to be really accurate up to the zone. It's got that blocker hold, so you can't just slap for it. But Selina Schäuble going really, really well here. Definitely taking a lot of energy so far. That kind of squeezing movement is so tiring. But could be lining it up for the top here, and finds the top. Really nice work, Selina Schäuble. 2 boulders, 2 tops.
Yes! Zweites Top von 2.
2 from 2 from Selina Schäuble. Really good start to the morning from her. Let's have another look. This was the top. Looked like those feet cut loose. She asked when she was hoping they wouldn't. The top hole good enough for her to latch it despite the left foot cutting loose. With the Americans as it stands, no joy on number 1. Ditto Money Irvine over on number 3. Who can we find? Who's that young man? Jakob Schubert. He's actually been working with the route setters here. He's not climbing today in this boulder, part of the Austrian Championship. This is looking promising from Mona up to the zone on number 3. It's going to be a reasonably undignified series of moves actually up that upper wall, kind of a squirm to get on top of that big yellow volume and roll onto it, get your elbow underneath you, and then just, as I say, squirm up the upper wall. Hard to come up with anything more poetic to describe it. The Americans still struggling with that move over. Already got the zone. She got it on her 3rd attempt. Moni Irvine cannot repeat her trip out to the zone.
Come on. Come on! Hi!
And sadly, we will see no more tops there. When Irvine heads off to the right through the hidden door. And our first chance to see Sabrina Schlacher in action. Lisa Wurm, meanwhile, will be out on number 2, and Stephanie Leitner climbing on number 3. Last time for a while, there'll only be 3 boulders in action. All the others, they'll all be busy in just over 4 minutes time. First chance to have a look at number 4. You can see it there actually, closest to the camera, green and black holds. Sabrina Schlacker, first climber of the three to get involved. Already seen a couple of tops this first boulder. Selina Schäuble got it done first, and then Lisa Wurm followed her with another top on it as well. And Selina Schäuble leading the way here. 2 tops for her so far, albeit Sabrina only the 6th of 22 climbers out. Lisa Wurm pulling back on number 2. Did well to control the feet. This is the real tricky move out though. Never looked quite like she had the distance on that move. Plenty of time for another go, over 3 minutes left. Stephanie Lightner looking rather frustrated on number 3. I suspect she won't be the last climber we say that about. This is a bit more like it from Sabrina Schlacker. Nicely done on the foot swap. Oh, I found a really nice method there. Took each move individually and is rewarded with a top. Nice start to the semi-final for her. Already looks like it might see some traffic, number 1.
Auch hier wird bei Lisa Wurm Doppelzweiten.
So 2 minutes to go for Stephanie Lightner to find something. Remember, the climbers can't touch any of the holes other than the starting holes. So if you're wondering why Stephanie Lightner doesn't just go and jump up and have a feel around on that big, that volume there, she's not allowed to touch it unless she climbs there legally from the start position. So she can't just go and see how it feels and see where the sweet spot is. She can only find it out once she's underway with her attempt. Lisa Wurm, meanwhile, so far stopped in her tracks by number 2.
Auf geht's, Ladies, auf geht's.
Just under a minute remaining for either of these two to find something. And then Sarah Feichenschlager. They wonder why people find German difficult. Will be out next. .15 seconds to go now. Just see some micro adjustments being made, by the way, to number 4. And so we're about to see number 4 in action for the first time. Stage full for the first time today. Will be this way for the next couple of hours, actually, as Mona Jenevine has a look at number 4. And they're wearing 18, Sarah Feichenschlager. As I mentioned, the climbers aren't allowed to touch any of the holes in the starting holes, but they can, of course, brush them, and they can inspect them, they can get as close as they want, provided they don't actually touch them with any part of their body. So you're allowed to brush the holes, and it's a good chance to study them, but you're not allowed to grab hold of them and figure out where the good bits are. Mona Jenevine now. Got the right idea on that move out right to the zone. It's going to be quite a journey, that boulder. It doesn't feature that many holes. There's only 8 in total, but you go all the way out right, all the way out left, and then straight up to the top, and the top ever so slightly hidden just thanks to an angle change on the wall.
Sally Schäuble ist zurück. Die Worte ist dann auf jeden Boulder top.
Sarah, latest climber to try luck on number 1. Been top 3 times now. Selina Schäuble, you can see there on number 3. She was one of the climbers that got it done on number 1. Required 6 attempts, but got there in the end. Persistence rewarded. And as I said earlier, I think we might see quite a few climbers look at that yellow volume in frustration. Selina Schäuble, the latest. Sarah's just going for the slow method out towards the zone. We've not seen that many climbers go for the quick method, and she actually just changed her mind and did go for the quick method. Didn't look like the easiest way to do the boulder. I think if you timing and coordination is really your strong suit, then it might work. But I have to say the climbers who've crept across and done each move, stopped, reset, and gone again, look like the ones who've got the closest. .145 left on the clock. 4 climbers still on the wall. No tops on this 5-minute rotation. Olivia Merkens wasn't that far off on holding that swing on number 2. Selina Schäuble, who so far is the only climber to have topped number 2, is currently at work on number 3, trying a slightly different method, getting the left foot out early so that she's more solid going out. And it looks a pretty good method. So up to the zone. According to the live scores I've got, that's her first time she's latched the zone on that boulder. And Mona, speaking of zones, has just claimed it on number 4. And as I said, it's a journey. Despite having not that many holes, just 8 in total, you do an awful lot of movements between those 8 holes. And I said that Olivia Merkens wasn't far off, and you can see it there on number 2. Powerful move up with the right hand. Once you get those 2 black volumes, you basically just got to squeeze the life out of them. Moni Innervine just coming up short on number 4. She'll be a bit frustrated. I think the one before was the one. Selina Schäuble, meanwhile, I was about to say, could get off to a dream start with 3 tops, but she's not going to find a way on number 3. And with 5 seconds to go, I don't think we'll see any more tops. That will be that. The beeps are back. The clock is working again. The climbers head in, and we have a look at Lena Lisinski. First boulder for her. Sabrina Schlacher comes back out onto number 2. Lisa Wurm is on 3. Stephanie Leitner is on 4. There you can see the scene here in Innsbruck, all on the left-hand side of the outdoor wall. This is a really, really strong start on a couple of boulders. Thought we might see another top of number 2 there from Sabrina Schlacher. Let's focus on Lena now on number 1. Again, pondering how to get out to the left, and might well be awarded that zone. Actually, she kind of controlled it. She's definitely controlled it now. Could do ideally with swapping the feet. I think she's having that thought process right now. Lisa Vaughan, meanwhile, you might have seen just cut to it as she jumped out on number 3. Definitely needs to find a more controlled method of doing that move. And speaking of controlled methods, that is a perfect start to the semi-final for Lena.
On top, Lena Luzinski.
And she actually flashed out. It was first attempt on Boulder 1.
Flash am ersten Boulder.
Stephanie Leitner was really trying that move out to the right, to the zone on number 4, but you've got to stay in something resembling control to stand a chance. If you just launch for it, it's really hard to hang on to. Got to try and control the swing, try and stay in the correct position. Let's have another look. .140 left. Sabrina Schlacher, as it stands, no joy on number 2. Of course, we had a flash on number 1 from Lena.
Auf jetzt, das Semifinale der Ladies. Jeweils der Jungs ab 13 Uhr.
Still no joy in that move out to the zone. Sabrina Schlacher, though, got that first move sorted, but the right foot just popped as she placed it then. She found a top on number 1, second attempt. Nothing yet on number 2. It's a physical set of boulders, those last 3. Pretty brutal with only 5 minutes rest between them. Definitely got that move sorted and goes slightly differently. Actually goes right hand first up to the black volumes. We've seen climbers generally do it the other way. 15 seconds to go. Maybe slightly optimistic, but might be time to claim the zone. No, not with so little rest. So we'll head back in. 5 beeps begin and a 5-minute rotation is about to begin again. Emma Tabernig now. First climber, first boulder for her, excuse me. Sarah Feichten-Schlager will be out on number 2. Olivia Merkens on number 3 and Selina Schäuble on number 4. So far, the only boulder that's stopped Selina is number 3.
Die Mannschaft zweimal im Semifinale. Hier bei der Summer Series.
You can see it, Selina Schäuble leading the way. She's had every zone, couldn't quite find a top on number 3 as I mentioned, but 2 tops and 3 zones, enough to put her in a comfortable lead. No one else really close to that score at this very early stage. Only 50 minutes elapsed to the semi-final, of course. And about 5 or 6 minutes of that was when there was an issue with the timing system.
War hier schon mal ganz oben in Boulder 2019 U18 hier in Innsbruck. Stimmen wir.
Selina Scheubel actually just had a couple of attempts at achieving the start position. They do count as attempts, by the way. Here is our first chance to have a look at Emma. You can see there Team Vorarlberg. It's the region of Austria just to the west of us here. All the climbers Austrian in this championship. It's not the summer series, remember. No Swiss climbers, no Germans. Austria only.
Let's go.
And again, going right hand first, Sarah. We've seen that method before. I have to say left hand first, then right looks marginally easier. And once again, Selina Scheubel just struggling to get started on number 4. It is an awkward start. You've got to get the right foot up and then swing the left foot up before your right foot slips off. Emma still just struggling on number 1. So no tops actually on this rotation at all. Selina Scheubel, who didn't find a way on number 3, has so far not found a way on number 4. She seems to have the start a little more sorted out. Olivia Merkens immediately to the left of Selina. No joy yet on number 3. So Emma gets herself stood up. Another look at this zone move. So no problem up to the zone. Just need to get this foot swap done. It's so delicate because you can't look down at your feet while you're doing it. This does look promising. Most climbers who've got into this position have brought it home. Yeah, I was about to say, well, I might want to go up with the right foot. Matters not.
Yes.
Had to do an extra little shuffle of the feet because she chose to go up with the left foot. But it doesn't matter. Top is in the bag. Good start to her semi-final. Looks like, I have to say, it looks like you'll need to do number 1 to make the final. Would be one of my few and probably incorrect predictions.
Einen Flash, den wir gesehen haben, zuvor von Lena Losinski.
So 5 minutes is up. Sophie Kessler, the next climber to start the semi-final, and Lena Losinski comes back out onto number 2. Sabrina Schlack is on number 3, and Lisa Wurm is on 4.
Die Top 6 aus diesem Semifinale sehen wir heute Abend im Finale ab 18 Uhr.
So Sophie Kessler now begins the process of creeping out left. There is no other word for it. Out towards the zone, seeing a bit of traffic now. That number 1. It's had 5 tops so far. Interestingly enough, not that I think it means much, Selina Schäuble, who's the first person to do it, has actually taken by far the most attempts. 6 attempts to get it done, which is more than double anyone else who's successfully topped it. Lisa Vuom just trying to figure out what to do on number 4. Not the easiest boulder to start if you're slightly shorter as she is. Sophie Kessler, much taller. Might come in handy by the time she gets to number 4. It's got a lot of work to do before then, though. She's on number 1, as I mentioned. Lane Lazinski is out on 2, and Sabrina Schlacher is climbing on number 3. Perhaps slightly more awkward for taller climbers with longer limbs, this one. Or does it make that zone feel a little bit closer? Right now, Sophie Kessler just struggling with the stand-up. Can't quite find a way. Going quickly-ish out to the left. Lisa Vuom managed to find the way to start number 4. Moni Yinvine still the only climber with even a zone on that one. This is looking pretty promising from Sabrina Schlacher. Becomes only the 3rd climber to get the zone. But can't find a way to free up the left hand and go up to that little crimp in the middle of the wall just next to the Tirol sign. Sophie now got 45 seconds left to try and find something on this move, trying to stand up slowly on the left foot, creep over. So I felt like we had a lot of tops and then suddenly they've slowed down again. Interestingly enough, only Boulder 1 is seeing a lot of tops. 5 on that so far. Just the 1 top on number 2 and then nothing on 3 or 4. Remember, it's still early days in the semi-final.
Come on, Sabrina.
And time runs out. No tops on that rotation. Masks, face masks reapplied. And climbers head backstage once again. Laura Stuckler now. 2nd place for her in the speed last night. And what are we? 14 hours on. She's out on the boulder wall. The highest ranked of the climbers from yesterday's qualifiers who didn't find a top, Laura Stuckler. Next out we'll have Lena Bruys, and she did find a top in the qualifiers. Very tough round, but Laura Stuckler, the highest ranked of the no-toppers. Emma Tabernig is climbing again. She's on number 2. Sarah Feitenschlager is on 3, and Olivia Merkens out on 4 overs to the far right-hand side of the stage. So Laura again rolling out left. Interestingly, most climbers who get the zone on this boulder get it pretty quickly. Only Sarah Feitenschlager has taken more than 3 attempts to get the zone and then successfully latched it.
Yes, Emma. Hi.
Oh, this is looking really promising from Emma Taberning on number 2. Got the zone. Oh, and just went up with the right hand to get herself in position for the top. What's Laura Stuckler got in mind here? I think, was she looking at a direct route to the top? Surely not. Sarah Feitenschlager on number 3. It's going to take something special to find a top on 3 and 4, I think. Two and a half minutes left, half the time remaining for Laura Stuckler. I mean, already we've got 5 climbers who've found a top on that, so given that we're now halfway through the climbers, it looks like you're going to need to get that one done to stand a chance of getting into the final, or you have to find something very special on the remaining 2 boulders. But getting number 1 in the bag certainly looks like one of the easier ways of bumping your score up to where it needs to be. And Laura Stuckler does really well to hold her balance there and now claims the zone. See her just trying to figure out how to swap the feet over. Again, Emma Taberning looking good on number 2. Can she latch this move? This is where she fell last time. This time she sticks it, but can't quite get set to go again. Time could be the issue there. That lower section where you're squeezing those volumes, it requires a lot of energy in a really strange sort of way. Just watching, is she going to go for another go? Surely she will. Sarah Feitenschlager somehow managed to hang on to that big yellow volume. Now just trying to figure out, can she reach across with the knee? I think it might be a little bit of a stretch from the left hold. She's close, she can actually touch it with her knee. Just don't think she can get any weight through it. And she might be slightly frustrated with that. 32 seconds remaining. I doubt will be enough time for another serious go. Emma Taberning now, you can't help willing her on this number 2. She's been close. This is a move she fell on the first time. She falls on again. And again, I suspect it might be pretty hacked off with that one. She was close. Laura Stuckler, meanwhile, not an ideal start to her semi-final. I'm sure fatigue playing its role, of course. So soon after the speed finals, got to get back into the Kletterzentrum, get warmed up again and go again. Lena Bryce now, the first of the climbers we're going to see today who found a top in yesterday's qualifier. She got 1 top. Sophie Kessler's back out climbing again. She is on number 2. Lena Lazinski is on 3, and Sabrina Schlacker is trying her luck on number 4. Still only Selina Schäuble with more than 1 top. We've only had 6 tops across this semi-final. 5 climbers with a top, including Selina with 2.
Abwehrtrainer.
It's looking pretty hopeful over on number 1. Lena seemingly making pretty light work of it. Again, goes up with the left foot, so just has to do that one extra little jiggle. But who cares when you find the top with more than 3 minutes of your time remaining. Very precious extra time backstage. Looks like she can't get the mask on fast enough, so she can head back and get some rest. Sabrina Schlacker closest to the camera there, just studying number 4. And Lena Lazinski doing much the same on number 3, trying to get a good look at that yellow volume. As I mentioned earlier, she's not allowed to touch it unless it's an illegal attempt on the boulder. Sabrina Schlacker looking at going up direct on number 4 instead of making the journey outright to the zone, but the route setters no doubt have closed that option off. It didn't look like she really fancied the chances of making it work. One and a half minutes to go for the climbers, including that lady there, Sophie Kessler, to find something. Already had a top on number 1 by Lena Breutz.
Jetzt Vollgas, Sophie Kessler. Alle.
And as we've seen with a lot of climbers, able to get both hands up on that tough move up to the rail, but not able to stay there. 1 minute to go now, the beep sounds. Sabrina, as it stands, not having much joy on number 4. Nobody yet topped it, nobody yet topped number 3 either.
Halbe Minute noch. Komm.
.15 seconds left. That move really causing all sorts of problems. There is a tiny handhold outright, foothold, excuse me, outright, but nobody really managing to use it. That will be the zone, but sadly no more for Lena. Morning. So the first of the 2 top club from yesterday's qualifiers, Lea Kempf out, also a climber from Vorarlberg.
Lea Kempf, die schon zweimal angeklopft hat an der Boulder Finaltür. In den ersten beiden Bewerben, da war sie 8. und 9.
So Lea Kempf is climbing again. Laura Stuckler, who we saw not finding a way to top number 1, is now on number 2, and Emma Tabernig is on 3, and Sarah Feitenschlager is out on number 4. Still only 6 climbers with the top so far, and Selina Schäuble, the only climber to top anything other than number 1, so a tough set here. I said the qualifiers were hard. Route setters probably turned things down ever so slightly from their original plan for the semi-final, but they haven't turned things down that much. Laura Stuckler looking strong on that move outright on number 2, slapping up with the right hand. The left will follow now. Foot cuts loose on both occasions, but she manages to hang on. Now this is a tricky move up to the zone because there's just that blocker hole stopping you getting it exactly how you want. Does it nicely. Tough move again, up with the right. If there is such a thing on this boulder, I was about to say the top move looks one of the easier ones. Laura Stuckler might fancy her chances on that one though. Seems to have figured it out pretty quickly. Issue will be energy, of course. It's not that long to recover from an effort like that. Leah Kempf never quite looked like she was in balance there. Does claim the zone, but as yet no top. Oh, it's a really good effort from Emma Tabernig on number 3. Feet were all over the place. She managed to hang on to it, just basically refused to let go of that volume. And this looks really good. No problem getting the elbow underneath her, which has been a move that stopped a lot of climbers. And she's looking, this is looking like a different boulder to what it has for everyone else. It's not quite done yet, though. Almost feel like it should be over now, given what's preceded it. But matching the top's no joke. Feet on pretty poor holds, but it doesn't matter. She finds a top. I have to say, she made that look easy. We've seen all sorts of different types of climbers really struggling with it. Just rocked over, got that elbow underneath her on the right arm, and she was up in no time. Let's have another look. Pretty poor footholds, but she looks solid on the whole boulder, including on that final move, and there it was. Checks with the judges that all is well. You know someone feels solid on that final move and they can turn around, look at the judges. Sarah Feichenschlager joins the growing list of people to have stood staring at number 4. The 1 minute buzzer sounds. .30 seconds now. Laura Stuckler, who was close earlier on number 2. Oh, and just tried to go quickly with the left. Maybe didn't feel that secure on the right hand, and that might be the one that got away from Laura Stuckler. So no tops for her on the first 2 boulders. Leah Kempf. Oh, does the foot swap nicely, but the clock is going to beat her even if the boulder doesn't, and I think she will be pretty hacked off that she didn't figure that little method out. The foot swap looked neat there. She didn't figure that out a little earlier. Lena Lozinski now closest to the camera, or was closest to the camera, on number 4. Sophie Kessler's on 3. Lena Bruys is back out on 2, and Julia Fischer, fresh from a top 10 finish in the only World Cup that we're going to have in 2020 in Briançon. Almost a month ago, in fact a month ago, almost to the day, is climbing as well. So Emma Tabernig now, with that top on number 3, moves up into first place. 2 tops, 3 zones. She's still got number 4 to go. Still only Moni Jenevine, the first climber to attempt it who's had any joy on number 4.
Julia Fischer, zweimal war sie am Podest im Vorstieg, zweimal Dritte in Innsbruck. Beim zweiten Boulder in Innsbruck 7. gewesen, also Sehr stark. Am 6. Zwischengesamtrang des Summer Series.
Julia Fisa looking nice and neat. Went pretty quickly over to the left. We've seen most climbers take their time over things a little bit more than that. But, oh, hand just slipped at the crucial time. Again, it's Lena Lazinski just trying to avoid going out right to the zone on number 4. I'm sure the route setters were wise to people trying that and have set it in a way where it's more or less impossible to avoid going out right, but won't stop the climbers trying it. Sophie Kessler is looking pretty good on number 3. Using her height to good advantage by skipping out the holes she didn't like the look of, and we could be about to see another top on number 3. Needs to get the feet up. You can't jump for that big black hole. It's not good enough. You've got to get yourself solid. She won't like it, but she could do with getting her right foot up. They're pretty poor holds. And instead of being able to top standing on top of that massive yellow volume, you kind of have to commit to those pretty poor footholds. Chooses to go right foot, left hand, sorry, before moving the left foot up.
Come on. Yes,
And it is another top on number 3. Sophie Kessler looked really strong on that. Maybe didn't cruise it quite as much as Emma Tabernig, but the result is the same, a top for her. Took her a while to figure out how to get in position for the top.
Top im Zweiten von Sophie Kessler. So schnell war noch keine oben.
Julia Fischer now creeping out left. Lena Bryce, fresh from a relatively easy looking top on number 1, and now finds herself on the completely different number 2 and doesn't quite seem to have the power required, and Julia Fischer just seemed to try and carry out a few too many movements at the same time.
Knappe 20 Mal im Weltcup schon in einem Vorstiegssemifinale. Jetzt hier im Semifinale der Staatsmeisterschaft in Boulder. Let's go.
20 seconds to go now. Julia Fischer really needs this one. I think she can do it. She's no problem up to the zone, but she hasn't quite sort of decided on a method once and for all. And that left foot, as we've seen with a few climbers, pretty tenuous. This could be it for Julia, though. 7 seconds to go. She has got time, and she has got the top. Was made to work for that one. Looks like she's kind of amused at herself for not figuring it out earlier. But she does figure it out in the end, and we get another top. She gets on the board. 8th climber with a top. Still no one found a top on number 4. Emma Tabernig is on it now, who absolutely cruised number 3, really. Took her 3 attempts, but the one where she did it, she pathed it, to use some climbing parlance. That's the scores as they stand right now. Emma Tabernig leading the way thanks to that top on number 3. Remember, climbers are separated first by the number of boulders they top, and then it comes down to who got the most zone holds. If they're still tied, it comes down to attempts to get those tops, and then attempts to get the zones if they're still tied. So 2 tops, 3 zones. Currently enough to put Emma Tabernig on the lead, thanks to the number of attempts those tops took. Emilia Werensky now.
Emilia Werensky ist mittlerweile schon
from the nearby village of Sistrans, just up the hill from Innsbruck. Laura Stuckler, meanwhile, she's on number 3.
Combined 2019. Bei der Jugendweltmeisterschaft Combined in Alkon 2019 Vierte geworden und Zweite im Jugend-Europa. Hi.
What will the method be? Chooses to go slowly, but then just begins to pivot off the wall. And that was looking pretty hopeful there for Leah Kempf. Emma Burning there, closest to the camera after cruising number 3, really has her work cut out on number 4, where only one climber, Moni Yinavine, the first climber to attempt it. Only Mona has even a zone on that one, let alone a top. And almost in unison, Emma Burning and Laura Stuckler jumping on their respective boulders, but neither having any success. This looks pretty hopeful for Emilia Warensky, though. Very smooth. Interesting, quite a few climbers going up left foot first on that. If you go up right foot first for the top hold, then it means you can just rotate your body into the wall and stand straight up. If you go left foot first, you've got to do a little foot swap, but it's obviously not that hard. Most climbers have favoured going left foot first and doing the extra move.
Am zweiten war bisher nur eine unten, Sally Schäuble, am dritten 2. Der 4. ist noch ungelöst. Also genau das, was Emma Dahlin braucht, um die letzte Spitzenmotivation zu erfahren.
Minute to go now. Leah Kempf's actually got beyond this initial series of moves around the purple volumes, and she'll have another go at it. Trying to decide whether to go left, right, but in the end goes right, left in quick succession. Tricky move up to the zone, avoid the blocker hold, just gets on it. Looked like she was a little short, but was able to readjust. No problem with the cross-through move with the right hand. Again, big move up with the left, and this is looking really, really hopeful for Leah Kempf. Finds the top on number 2. Haven't had many tops so far today. That's a really strong performance from her on number 2. Took a bit of figuring out, but she got there in the end. Here's Emma and Laura Stuckler, and I don't think either of them sadly have the time left. Let's have another look at that top on number 2. It's a pretty good hold, that top one. She didn't even need to readjust. So Emma Burning and Laura Stuckler will leave those boulders empty-handed. Now then, looking forward to seeing this lady climb. Eva Maria Hamel-Muller looks super strong in the Austria Climbing Summer Series earlier on this year in July and August. Can she follow it up in September in the Austrian National Championships? Julia Fischer is back out. She's climbing on number 2. Lena Bruce is out on 3, and Sophie Kessler now the 10th climber to have a look at number 4. Even Maria Hamel-Muller, it looks like one of those moves where it's one thing to do it, it's another thing to then carry on up the boulder from there. Instead goes for the foot swap, almost did it blind. Glad she took her chalk bag. able to use her height to good advantage. She just reached through with that right hand and could be setting herself up for a relatively easy top there. Eva Maria. Julia Fischer, meanwhile, looking pretty handy on number 2. That was a flash from Eva Maria Hammelmuller. What can Julia Fischer do on number 2? This looks really hopeful. Top hole pretty good, and she has latched it. Matches before the celebration. 2 tops in quick succession. Eva Maria Hammelmuller on number 1. Julia Fischer on number 2. Can't get much closer to the action than that. And Lena Broyce on number 3 now, and Sophie Kessler over on number 4. Just double check, we weren't watching her all the way through. What attempt was that for Julia? First attempt, flash of the boulder. That's really impressive. Emma Tabernig flashed the zone on that one, as did Laura Stuckler, but no one else has flashed it for the top. Two minutes to go now. Still haven't had a top on number 4. Still only had 2 tops on number 3 and 3 on number 2. So, yeah, none of the boulders, with the exception of number 1, seeing many tops at all. Sophie Kessler pretty much stopped in her tracks by that move up to the zone. She's not been alone in that today.
Auf geht's.
40 seconds to go to try and find something, and still short on that move up towards the second hold. Interesting to see as we get the higher ranked climbers coming out, whether we do see a few more tops and course climbers coming in reverse order from how they went in the qualifiers. 15 seconds to go. I don't think we're going to see any further progress on these. And it'll be about time for Natalie Ablinger to head out. Climbers, as you can see, under strict instructions to get their face masks back on as quickly as possible. And a slight moment of confusion there. Laura Stuckler just saying to Leah Kempf, no, you're on number 3, I'm on number 4. A bit of confusion about whose boulder was which. That's how they stand right now. Top 3, Emma Tabernig, Selina Schäuble and Julia Fischer.
Die hat den ersten schon gelöst. Daneben Lea Kempf, die war am zweiten oben. Und die Vize-Speed Queen, Laura Stöckler.
Amelia Warensky back out. Natalie Ablinger now getting underway. After her will be Johanna Ferber, who won both of the Summer Series boulder events. Laura Stuckler not a million miles away on that move. It might feel difficult, but if she could see what we've seen, which is how much so many of the climbers have struggled with those moves, that is not a bad start at all. And Laura Stuckler is going really well on number 4. This looks really promising. We didn't see her move across to the zone. But she becomes only the second climber to find that zone. On Laura Stuckler, I said after she missed out on number 1, she might need to pull something special out of the bag. And she seems to be doing that here on the seemingly impossible up until this stage, number 4. Oh, just trying to get set, couldn't quite figure out what to do with the feet. You don't want to send them out left and accidentally tread on one of the sponsor signs. Don't know if she could really find much else to do with them. Natalie Ablinger now. 2 tops for her in yesterday's qualifying round. Can she find one here on number 1 in the semi-final? Finals, of course, for this event will be this evening, 6 o'clock. We're getting underway for the women's final. We'll have the men's afterwards. Trying to go quickly there on number 1. Most climbers, it would seem to prefer a slightly slower method. It certainly looked slightly more successful. Top from Leah Kempf on number 3, only the 3rd climber to get it done. I really thought we were about to see the first top on number 4 as well from Laura Stuckler, but she's brushing the holes again, getting ready for another go. Natalie Ablinger is on number 1, that's a replay. Have another look. Leah Kempf, another method of topping. Left foot just quivering a little bit there. I don't think she wanted to stay for a lunch break up there, but she stayed long enough to be awarded the top. Oh, and Laura Stuckler again close on number 4. Feels like this is the boulder round that's just got away from her. She's been close on a lot of the boulders, but without actually managing to get it done. This is Amelia Wawrinski trying to figure out how to get that cross-through move done. And energy-wise, I don't think 33 seconds will be enough for her. Laura Stuckler giving it another go on number 4.
Der Name hat alles gegeben.
15 seconds now for Natalie Ablinger to find something on number 1. And I don't think we're going to see another attempt from Laura Stuckler. We're not going to see another attempt from Amelia Wawrinski, and we are not going to see another attempt from Natalie Ablinger. Johanna Ferber out now, who, as I say, won both rounds of the Summer Series, not only beating all her compatriots, including lead world champion Jessie Pilt, but also Boulder world champion Petra Klingler. The visiting Swiss and German climbers were here, and she beat them all twice. That's how they stand right now. Top 3, Emma Tabernig, Leah Kempf and Selina Schäuble still there. Julia Fischer in 4th place. Eva Maria Hamel-Muller is climbing on number 2, by the way. See her a little bit lower down the order, and Julia Fischer, who I mentioned, is in 4th place. She's now climbing on Boulder 3. Lena Breuss is on number 4. There they are. This is looking really good from Eva Maria Hamel-Muller. Came second in one of those Summer Series events. Maybe might have felt she could have won it. She was first in the qualifying round and the semi-final on that day. Looking good here in the Austrian Championship though. Top for her. And a flash, no less. Flash both of the first two boulders. A perfect start to the semi-final. 2 boulders, 2 flashes. Let's have another look. Interestingly enough, one of the easiest, in inverted commas, moves on this boulder is the top one, and looked like she really had to stretch for it. Little celebratory pull-up at the end as well. So Johanna Faber, as I said, won both of the Summer Series. She is a World Cup finalist as well at international level. Taiwan 2018 made the final there in China. Two and a half minutes left for Johanna Faber to get her semi-final off to a good start with the top of number 1. Not quite figuring it out so far. Oh, Julia Fieser so strong on that left-hand crimp as we cut over to her on number 3. Could we see another top on this one? It would only be the 4th top of it. Julia Fieser is absolutely crushing it here. Moves into first place. She's topped all 3 boulders, becomes the first climber with 3 tops. I mean, regardless of what happens on number 4, that could well be enough for a place in the final. Let's have another look. Again, chooses to press underneath the left hand, right hand on top. Top for her. Johanna Faber, you have to say it would be a bit of a surprise if she didn't manage to get it done here on number 1 after the summer she's had. Getting a little frustrated. Julia Fieser currently showing how it's done, leading the way with 3 tops, the only climber that's managed that so far. And Lena Broyce here. Currently in 9th place, just the 1 top. She flashed boulder 1. Johanna Faber needs a result on boulder 1. At least got the zone. And I think that's all she's going to get. Having another go, but given that she's already got the zone, 15 seconds to climb the rest of the boulder would be pretty good going. Not saying it's impossible, but it'd certainly be tricky. And she just doesn't have time to get comfortable. Doesn't look too impressed with that. And Jessie Piltz now, the first of the 3 toppers from yesterday's qualifying round, is out. The 2018 lead world champion remembers to take her mask off. I think we've all got so used to wearing them that you can forget you're wearing them. Jessie takes it off now though, because she doesn't need to wear it when she's climbing, the regulations say.
Als eine der wenigen für Olympische Spiele, sollten sie jemals in der Stadt qualifiziert ist. Das könnte der längste Qualifikantenstatus ever werden.
Here goes Jessie. Consistently making World Cup boulder finals. I was about to say over the last few years, we haven't had a Boulder World Cup this year. And she was just called down by the judges. I wasn't looking that closely, perhaps an illegal start.
Einen hat sie schon gelöst, nämlich den ersten. So wird's richtig. Und Lea Kempf auch auf 2 bisher hoch gewesen. am zweiten und am dritten. Auf geht's, Jesse.
No problem with the start, or whatever the technical issue was for Jessie Pilz this time. Wow, does the foot swap neatly. Even the venue MC says, wow. And chooses to lead with the right foot, as I mentioned earlier. It just kind of saves you one little micro move, and Jessie figures it out this time. Strong start from Jessie.
Jessie Pilz, maximal gefühlvoll. Traumhaft.
Qualified Olympian, of course, Jessie Pilz. And safely through Boulder 1, ready for a look at numbers 2, 3 and 4. That's Emilia Orensky over on number 3. Leah Kempf on number 4. And there you can see Natalie Ablinger on number 2.
Auf geht's, Natalie. Die 6. der Qualifikation.
Oh, looking strong here actually, Natalie Ablinger. No problem with the right hand. There's no pushover this move up with the left. But once that lands, if it lands, the top move doesn't look as tough as some of the moves that have preceded it. Emilia Wawrinski, did she just, is that frustration or did she just clobber herself as she fell off that boulder? I think it was just frustration. Oh, and a pretty awkward looking fall there actually on number 4. For Leah Kempf, didn't look amazingly comfortable. These mats are softer than the ground, but if you hit them at the wrong angle, they still feel pretty firm. So now let's have another look. This was the near miss. Just always looked like she was ever so slightly short on that left hand. This is live again now. She's having another go. This is looking a bit more solid from Natalie Ablinger. Can she get it this time? Yes, she can. Smooth as you like, feet cut loose, but she was still solid enough, and she should find a top from there. And she will be massively frustrated from that, especially when she watches back other people's attempts, because most people didn't seem to struggle with that last move. Leah Kempf, meanwhile, is going really well here on number 4. We saw Laura Stuckler get close, and Leah Kempf gets close, but not quite close enough. Currently in 3rd place, Leah Kempf, as she finishes her rotation, but sadly for her, likely to move down the order. So Sandra Lettner now, the Youth Olympic champion, not a bad tick to have next to your name. Also got 3 tops in yesterday's qualifying round. Johanna Faber's climbing again, immediately to her right. Really getting the big hitters out now. Youth Olympic champion climbs next to World Cup finalist Eva Maria Hammelmuller, no slouch herself, over to the right. And then Julia Fischer, a couple of top 10 World Cup finishes for her. She's over on the far right on number 4. Semi-final really beginning to hot up. Remember, we're looking for 6 climbers to go through to the final this evening. This is looking pretty good for Johanna Faber. Left foot looked really solid, which made that move look solid, and the top move looks pretty solid as well. Flash for Johanna Faber on number 2, third climber who's flashed it, fifth climber to top it all together. We can focus for now on Sandra Lettner. Let's have another look at Johanna Faber. Had the right foot twisted into that gap between the zone and the blocker hold. Looks pretty taken with that one. Here's Sandra Lettner just being rotated off. Her right foot came loose, and as soon as it ended up behind her, it was always going to move her away from the wall.
Come on, Eva, come on! An der Zone dran! Das ist schon mal etwas auf diesem dritten. Fast mehr als die halbe Miete.
Sandra Lettner's moving out left. Eva Maria Hammelmuller, meanwhile, over on number 3. I think is about to claim a top. Yes, she is. 5th top of the boulder. Big result for her, and she knows it. That means she's got 3 tops. She moves just behind Julia Fischer, thanks only to the attempts to zone. Both of them, you suspect, in with a very good shot already of make it through to this evening's final. And like the majority of people that have topped that boulder, chooses to undercling with the left hand.
Fällt nur noch Franzi Stemmer und Mattea Pezzi, die besten nach der Qualifikation.
So Sandra Lettner, the Youth Olympic champion, with work to do here. 1:10 left on the clock. She could get left behind if she doesn't find a top on this first boulder. It's already been topped 10 times. So at this rate, half the climbers topping it, exactly half so far. Julia Fischer, meanwhile, is having another look at number 4. Sandra Lettner just cannot find a way on number 1, and that does leave her with work to do. So Franziska Sterrer is the next climber out. Only one more after her. As I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, 22 women in today's semi-final, thanks to a tie in 20th place in yesterday's qualifiers. Franzi Sterrer, the 21st and second to last climber out. Only Mattea Pezzi to come. Jessie Pilz moves on to number 2. Natalie Abling is on 3. Emilia Warensky is on 4. It's Julia Fischer who's leading the way, though. 3 tops, 3 zones for her. Leah Kempf, interestingly, down in 3rd place as it stands, is the only climber with 4 zones. 4th boulder proving very problematic. No tops of it so far. And only 3 climbers even finding a zone. Emilia Warensky, the latest to try her luck.
Franzi Stemmer, erster Versuch. Die war hier in Innsbruck schon mal am Podest beim AK 2019 in Boulder. Die Junioren-Europameisterin 2017. Kletterzentrum Innsbruck, ihre Trainingsstätte. Heimspiel. Und Jessie Pilz, im ersten Versuch.
Jessie Pilz looking super strong on number 2. Finding the top just as she did on number 1. Jessie Pilz really showing her class here in Innsbruck this morning. Took no time on that boulder. Could be about to see another top on number 3 as well. Natalie Ablinger just trying to figure out how to do it. There it is. Looked like it was in the balance for a split second there, but she finds a way in the end. Jessie Pilz really looking like the standout climber just on those first 2 boulders. Absolutely cruised through them. Let's have another look. Yeah, you can see there was just a moment's hesitation just now as she goes up with the right hand. Ooh, heart in the mouth moment. I think as soon as the right hand got solid, she felt pretty confident. But until then, it looked slightly in the balance. So what can Francie Sterra do over on number 1? It's only her and Amelia Orensky still on the wall. Amelia over hard right on boulder 4. Just 50 seconds remaining now. Amelia Orinsky could really do with this, actually. Despite a strong performance in yesterday's qualifiers, currently down in 7th place in today's semi-final. Needs something, anything.
Olivia.
Still cannot find a way, Amelia Orensky, and that means that 7th place, semi-final not even concluded. She won't find a place in the final tonight. Mattea Puzzi now, the final climber out onto number 1. The only climber yesterday in the qualifiers to find 4 tops. Spare a thought for the route setters. You've got 11 climbers that can't find any tops. You've got 3 climbers who can find 3 tops, and you've got Mattea Puzzi who could do them all. I mean, who on earth did they pitch the level at, given that spread of levels?
Sie war 7. bei den World Youth Championships in Innsbruck. War schon in einigen Finalentscheidungen dieser Summer Series mit dabei. In Boulder 5., 208. Vorstieg.
Sandra Lettner, meanwhile, is climbing on number 2 and going pretty well on it. Anna Faber's also making pretty light work at number 3. Here's Mattea Puzzi, as I say, standout climber in the qualifiers yesterday. Johanna Faber finds a top on 3. Couldn't find the top on number 1, but she gets it done on 3. 2 flashes in a row for Johanna Faber. May get away, as it turns out, with not doing number 1. And I think that was the top for Mattea Putzi. Yes, it was. I can see her putting her mask back on. Let's have another look. Eva Maria Hammelmuller absolutely cruising number 4 so far. Already in second place. Could she become the first climber with 4 tops? Could she become the first climber to top number 4 full stop? She cannot this time. Right, so Sandra Lettner trying again now on number 2. Needs to find something here, Sandra Lettner. Eva Maria Hammelmuller, if she can find something, will put herself in an amazing position. She's already leading the competition. And if not mathematically guaranteed a place in the final already, pretty close to guaranteed. 3 tops and 4 zones. And just cannot get set for that final move.
Körper kann gar nicht Magnesium genug aufnehmen.
.30 seconds left now for Eva Maria Hammelmuller to find the 4th top that would complete the perfect day for her. This is Sandra Lettner over on number 2, just running out of time. So we are done on boulder number 1. Jessie Pilz is back out. Franziska Sterrer is back out on number 2. And Natalie Ablinger climbing over on number 4. So as I say, we're done with boulder 1. All wrapped up on that one. And ended up getting 11 tops, exactly half the climbers managing to find a top on it. Jessie Pilz looked really strong on the first couple of boulders, looking pretty handy on number 3 as well. Can someone find 4 tops? I think or can anyone top number 4? That's the first job. Natalie Ablinger is on it now, looking at going direct. Jessie Pilz, meanwhile, absolutely cruising, it would seem, on number 3. might even be able to top without committing to the bad footholds. I think the route setters have tried their best to prevent climbers from doing that. She has to commit to the poor footholds in the middle of the wall. Will she undercling? Will she pinch? Just trying to figure it out. Just doesn't look that comfortable, Jessie Pilz. Francie Stera looks pretty comfortable on number 2. Top for her. They're beginning to come thick and fast now, the tops. Jessie just trying to figure out what to do with the feet and will be frustrated with that. She was so close. Most climbers who've got that far haven't really struggled with the top section, I have to say. You suspect a climber of Jessie's calibre will be up there before we know it. Meanwhile, Natalie Ablinger has a good look at the top of number 4 but can't find a way to top it.
Franzi Scherrer macht so wie Jo Ferber den ersten noch gut gelöst, den zweiten geflasht.
So Jessie Pilz pulls back on for another look at number 3.
So, Jessie Pilz. Let's do that.
Jessie just showing a raw strength to hang on to that big yellow volume. Most climbers have been struggling to hold it in any way, shape or form. And Jessie, no stress at all, hanging on it with one hand. But now can't get back up to the high point on number 3. Pulls back on, Lucky again, will be massively annoyed if she cannot find a way here, Jessie, having been so close.
Wow, nice move, Natalie.
Natalie Ablinger, can she find a way?
Auf geht's, auf geht's, auf geht's.
Could we find a top here on number 4? The problem's been figuring out what to do with your feet, and she cannot find a way.
Verdammt, Jessie Pilz war da mit einer Hand schon oben am Top. Okay.
You can see as she got the heel hook in place, went back to show the judges that she had claimed the zone. So Mattea Puzzi is climbing on number 2, and then we've got Sandra Lettner on 3 and Johanna Faber over on number 4.
Brauchst du momentan, um im Finale dabei zu sein. Alle. Und der ist auf Pole Nummer 4.
This is looking good for Mattea Puzzi. Johanna Faber is also looking pretty handy on number 4. Matea Putzi, she flashed number 1, number 2 as well. No doubt she was the strongest climber in yesterday's qualifiers. She's looking superb here in the semi-finals. Johanna Faber looking for the first top at number 4, manages to slap the top hold, but cannot hang on to it. Two flashes, 2 boulders from Matea Putzi. Sandra Lettner with work to do on number 3. Right now, down in 20th place. And we'll need a miracle to make the final. No matter what she does on these final 2 boulders, she'd have to top them both at least. And quickly, which given that no one has yet topped number 4 would look like a pretty tricky thing to do.
Yes, you.
So Johanna Faber, can she do it? Can she find the top on this number 4, which has stopped so many climbers in their tracks? Crowd, small as it is, making plenty of noise, trying to encourage her. They would love to see a top on number 4, as would we. Sandra Lettner, was that a little shake of the head in annoyance? Perhaps that she's just found a way to manipulate that big yellow volume. Got to get stood on top of it now.
Yes.
Could be good news to Sandra Lettner here. Sadly for her, I don't think it's going to be good enough news to book her a place in this evening's final. I think the Youth Olympic champion will miss out regardless of what else she does. So that just leaves Johanna Faber alone on the mats and able to get out to the zone relatively easily. And she just does not have the energy for that final leap for the top. I still think she's done enough for the final load. 2 tops, 4 zones. Only 2 climbers ahead of her. That was Sandra Lettner topping out. Still well short of where she needs to be. Again, I really don't fancy her chance of making the final. She'd need to top number 4 to stand even the slimmest of chances. And now Franziska Sterrer and Jessie Pilz make their way out. Jessie, I think, will be really frustrated with how number 3 went. She was so close to topping it, and most climbers who've got there have brought it home.
Momentan fürs Finale 2 Tops in 6. Emma Dahlering ist da nach wie vor auf Rang 6.
So Jessie looking at that big move out to the zone and just short.
Come on. Let's get it done. Auf geht's.
Plenty of time remaining for both these climbers. Franziska Sterra on the left and Jessie Pilz on the right. Just the one top from the two boulders so far for Franzi Sterra. Flash number 2 didn't manage to find a top on number 1, which, given that half the climbers have topped it, looks like the easiest boulder by far in this set, so you'd leave yourself with work to do if you didn't find a top on that one. Jessie Pilz, meanwhile, had no such worries. Still struggling on that move, Jessie. She's not the first climber we said that about. And with 3 climbers still to attempt that boulder, I don't think she'll be the last.
Jawohl, Franzi. Venga.
So both climbers standing back. Franzi Sterra now in the sun as it swings round. Won't quite hit the wall when this, even by the end of this semi-final, but now standing in the sun, getting a bit of warmth. It's a lovely temperature for climbing actually here. Must be around 18, 20 degrees. In the shade, Jessie really not able to find a way. She left herself with a bit of work to do, Jessie, actually, because she's currently in 5th. 2 tops and 3 zones, but not getting number 3 done when she was so close could be problematic.
Come on. Push it.
One minute to go for both of them. Right now, relatively similar positions of just staring and wondering if they're missing something. Trying to find that tiny bit, that 1% extra power that might just do the job. So no joy for either climber, and Jessie, I'm not sure if she's even aware of the time. No, now she looks across at the clock. Well, 6 seconds to go. I'm not quite sure what she's going for here, other than the zone, and she just comes up short. Jessie Pilz, 5th place. Where does that leave? I'm just looking at where Jessie's positioned. I think she might just sneak into the final, but it's going to be sneaking. She looks super strong on the first 2 boulders, but has not really followed that up.
Sie hat 2 Flags. Können Sie sich jetzt selber hier in die Finalposition bringen? Und dann kann sie eigentlich...
So Mattea Putzi now is attempting number 3, and Sandra Lettner, who almost certainly, I haven't done the maths, but almost certainly won't make the final no matter what she does here. I think will be rather hacked off with this afternoon's performance. Sandra Lettner, yeah, I'm pretty sure. As I say, I don't want to delve too far into the maths. I'm pretty sure she can't make the final regardless of what she does. 6 attempts to get her one top. It was on boulder number 3. Not the day she was hoping for by any means.
Das geht hier heute Schlag auf Schlag. Und am Abend um 18 Uhr die Finalentscheidungen. Jetzt allerdings Mattea Pötzi. Mit der Möglichkeit hier, das Finalticket zu lösen. 2 Chancen für sie.
Mattea Pötzi, meanwhile, such a strong day in the qualifiers yesterday and a brilliant start to the semi-final. This third boulder is actually the first one she's fallen off. Flashed both of the first 2. Mattea Pötzi getting plenty of encouragement from the small but very vocal crowd. Very strong crowd as well, looking at some of the more familiar faces. A couple of World Cup winners down the front watching on. Making plenty of noise and giving her plenty of encouragement, and this could be enough to seal her place in the final. Yes, it is. She's got a boulder to spare, Mattea Pötzi, excuse me, but safely into the final. She's topped every boulder set for her so far.
Super. Direkt hinter Eva Maria Hammelmüller. Weil Eva Maria Hammelmüller eine Zone mehr hat. Und in dem Fall zuerst Anzahl der Dots und Anzahl der Zonen, dann Anzahl der Versuche.
That's how she did it. Chose not to undercling with the left hand, pinching with both hands instead. So Sandra Lettner, who has just had one of those days which not gone right. Just not been her day at all. Sandra Lettner qualified in 3rd place, would no doubt have had high hopes, but is not going to make the final. And another go at the move out to the zone, but she's just come up short. So Francie Sterrer, the second to last climber out on the 4th boulder. We're totally done now with number 3. Mattea Pötzi's top of that was the last action that one saw. Ended up being topped by 9 climbers, number 3. Didn't feel like that many when we were watching it, but the little flurry of climbers topping it right at the end. Interestingly, every climber has got at least a zone today. Top 17 have all claimed a top. Francie Sterrer finds herself all alone. And with work to do, a top here and a quick top might be enough. I don't think it will be. It's a hell of an ask though on a boulder like this. Not much joy here so far. This boulder causing problems for everyone who's attempted it. Nobody has managed to top it. We've had a couple of climbers get a good hand on top. Nobody actually managed to stay there though.
Come on, Francie, come on. Let's do it.
No, still short. 2:50 left on the clock. Only Mattea Puzzi still to come, who of course has already secured her spot in the final. And when Franziska Sterra is done, we will be certain of our finalists, regardless of what happens in the final 5 minutes. Mattea Puzzi's climbing. Don't forget, we've got the women's final tonight, 6 p.m. and in, oh, it's 40 minutes away. We've got the men's semi-final right here in Innsbruck. Rootset has got their work cut out to get all their work done before the men arrive, actually. Francie Sterra looking pretty fed up, I have to say. Not quite backed up that strong qualifying performance with a big semi-final result. She's not going to make the final here and just can't find a way. And with 1:30 left on the clock, bit of a difficult, tricky situation for her. Really, can only try her best, but she must know it's all in vain. She's not going to be in that final. $1:10 left now for her.
Auf geht's, Franzi.
1 minute, the buzzer sounds. Encouragement still being offered to Francie Sterra. Would be amazing if she could find a top. Finally, she finds a zone. Big rush of adrenaline, surely. 42 seconds now. Could she find the only top on number 4? What a story that would be. I don't think it'd be enough for the final, but it'd be great for us watching on. Francie Sterra just will not give up on this boulder, and finally is spat off while seeking a route to the top. So Francie Sterra comes up just short, and our top 6, our finalists, are confirmed. We'll just have another look. That was amazing. Not really anything left to play for, but just gave it everything she had. Wonderful stuff from Franziska Sterra. Would have been a lovely story if she could have found that top, but alas, it was not to be.
Für die letzten 5 Minuten in diesem Halbfinale. Sie ist schon fix im Finale, das weiß sie, aber sie weiß auch, dass dieser Boulder noch ungelöst ist. Eva Maria Hannemüller wird mit dabei sein im Finale. Julie Fischer, Jo Bauer, Lea Kemp.
So Mattea Puzzi now, the last 5 minutes of this morning's semi-final, which has been thoroughly enjoyable, I have to say, sitting out here in the lovely autumn sun in Innsbruck. Could be worse.
Zuerst mal gefühlt der Sprung ins Licht. Sogenannte schwarze Loch.
So Mattea Puzzi now, nothing left to play for, other than position, of course. should countback be a factor, she could do with getting her ahead of Eva Maria Hammelmuller. And actually, if she can find a zone, it won't matter about the number of attempts. It would actually be pretty handy for her. She would move ahead of Eva Maria Hammelmuller into first place in the semi-final if she could just find a zone. Doesn't matter about attempts, as I say, just get it done any which way. Struggling with the start, not the first climber we've seen actually struggling to get underway on this boulder. And I'm sure she's well aware that she's already done enough for a place in the final. Maybe just you don't quite have that all-out desire, desperation when you know it's already done.
Hier und heute 18:10 Uhr, genau zu sein. Und die Herren dann 20:30 Uhr. Semifinale der Herren 13 Uhr. Mit der besten 20 außer Qualifikation.
So 2 minutes left for Mattea Puzzi. See some of the route setting team in the background, including, I think that's Jakob Schubert there in the grey, just discussing the men's boulders. They've really got their time cut short anyway, but the slight issue that we had with the clock for this women's competition is cut their time down even further. Mattea Puzzi, 1 minute 30 left for her to find something, anything to move her into first place. Regardless, she'll be in the final. Sits down for another look. That zone could be absolutely crucial. As I say, if it's countback in the final, which admittedly doesn't happen that often in Boulder, we can normally separate the climbers in the finals, it may be vital. One minute to go. 52 seconds now. She's giving everything to that move. It's a shame. I don't think this boulder's going to see a top, which is disappointing. No question. So 30 seconds now for her to find something. If she can't do it this time, I wonder if she will try again. No, decides against it, Mattea Puzzi. She was first in the qualifiers. She will be second in the semi-final. And that is our 6 climbers confirmed for the final, 6 p.m. this evening. Don't forget, we're back in just over half an hour for the men's semi-final. But that's how they will line up this evening. Eva Maria Hammelmuller, Mattea Puzzi, Julia Fitter, Johanna Faber, Leah Kempf and Jessie Pilz. That is a big hitting final. Emma Tabernig just misses out. Ditto Selina Schäuble, who held the lead earlier on, and Franzi Sterrer as well. Disappointing days for a few climbers down there. Can't help feeling fatigue from yesterday's speed final. Might have been a factor for 1 or 2 of them. But your top 6, Eva Maria Hammelmuller in first place, then Mattea Puzzi, Julia Fitter, Johanna Faber, Leah Kempf and Jessie Pilz. Here's a few highlights from the semi-final, and I will speak to you in about half an hour for the men's semi-final.